Okay, so I'm going to go through the light up procedure on this thing. First thing we do is we turn our oil supply on. That's the oil supply. That's the oil reservoir right there. It is a gravity feed, and the level should be the same in there as in here. And there's a pipe that goes up in there, probably about the same level, right about here on the inside of the burn chamber. And anyway, we're going to see that in here now. Should be able to see oil coming out and pooling in the bottom. Not quite yet. It's moving slow. It's a little cold. Oh yeah, I see some there. Hang on, see if I can zoom in here and you can see it. There's the oil leaking in the bottom there. It's starting to pool in. So that's what we do. We get our oil pooling in. Now, zoom out here. Let's set you up on a tripod. Okay, so for the light procedure, we'll take our torch, and the trigger on this one broke, but it still works as a torch. I just need a different way of lighting it. And then I've got diesel mixed, or oil and gasoline and diesel mix in this thing, and it's probably about 20% gasoline and the rest is oil or diesel. So squirt that in there. So it looks like that bottle is almost empty. Put that in there like that. Then we'll come up here. And then, yeah, she's lighting. Okay, now we turn on our air supply. And right now I've got a DC fan. I'll go over this in a bit. Okay, so now that she's lit, we'll take that out. Turn our torch off. And we'll plug our light hole with a thread-in bung. I used an O2 sensor bung. That's all I do. It takes a bit to get going. I didn't have much diesel fuel mix in there, but it's going. Okay, so I lit that thing about 3-4 minutes ago. It's 12:47, and it is minus 7, -8 in here, something like that, according to that thermometer there. So we'll see how long it takes to warm this up in here. Approximately minus 20 degrees C outside today, and you can see my breath. That's how cool it is in here. Doesn't take long to flame up on this thing. Should be producing some heat pretty quick. So we're nearly 1 hour later now, and we are at plus 13-ish, and our flame is doing really well. I still got it on, well, not the highest setting, but probably a medium air setting. Yellow flame and a glowing barrel, and we'll keep it like that for probably another hour or so just to get it nice and warm in here. So about an hour and a half later, we're at about 25 degrees, and anyway, I got it turned down a little bit. So I'm just going to show you my oil feed system first. So that's the main oil feed right there. That's a reservoir right there, feeds oil. Goes into that pipe there. Pipe goes into up into here, and it's about that level there, which matches that level there. And that's how it feeds. And then when the oil level goes below that, convection actually makes the oil squirt up out into the burn chamber. So it kind of self-regulates based on heat. The hotter I make the flame, the more it convects that oil up, and the cooler I make the flame using fan control, the less oil it uses. And then what I do during the day is I keep this reservoir going at about, it kind of self-regulates and maintains right in between these two marks here when I have a pail there. And what I've got going here is I dump oil into this one, and then oil comes out through that tube and comes into this oil water separator, and there's no filter in there, it's just to separate water. And I put a petcock on the bottom. Look, I got some antifreeze in there. Oh, there, it's all out. So there was a little bit of antifreeze in that oil, and then it prevents the antifreeze from getting into there, which causes problems with the flame. So that's the oil feed system. Okay, so this part of the oil feed system, I got a line that goes down this way, and I've got it connected to an air chuck. If the line ever gets plugged, I just blow compressed air through it, and then the compressed air pushes out the chunk of crap that's in the line. This line is a 1/2 inch line. It's copper there, but when it goes up into the chamber, I've got it going into a stainless steel 1/2 inch copper line, and then it comes straight up like that, and then at 90s, and then it goes into the burn chamber. And it's just 1/2 inch stainless steel line, and over time, like over the course of a year or maybe 2, it'll eventually plug off. This year was the year I had to take it apart. It took me, I think it lasted me 3 years before it completely plugged off, and then blowing it out with compressed air wasn't working anymore, but it wasn't a big deal. Took it apart, ran a drill bit through the carbon, and cleaned it out, and then it was working good again. So not a big deal. So now over to the air side of this thing, where to start. I guess I'll start with the outside air. Outside air comes through the wall this way, goes into a computer fan, and a computer fan pulls it from outside, pushes it through this pipe here. It goes into there, and this is a 5-inch pipe over top of a 4-inch pipe. So there's a small air gap in there, like about a 1/2 inch on all sides of that pipe, and then the fresh air from outside goes up alongside the exhaust, and then it comes out here, and then I've routed it back down to the floor here, because when I got a vehicle in here and it's melting, the water pools and collects in this area, and I just wanted to have more heat on the floor here to evaporate the water. So that's the fresh air side. So now the charge side is a little bit more complicated. I changed it up since the last one. So inside of here is a shop vac. Inside of that box, it's insulated there to keep the noise down. And it comes out that pipe there, and it joins with this one, and this one's a 12-volt fan unit out of an old vehicle. It's just a squirrel cage fan, and I have a one-way check valve on there. So when I get the shop at temperature, I shut off the shop vac, and now it's running solely on that that fan unit out of that vehicle, squirrel cage fan unit. And the reason I did that is we're having problems with electricity in Alberta here. We're potentially going to have a blackout or a brownout, and I don't want my fan going out while I'm working in the shop and having a flame out scenario. So I rigged it up to a battery and a battery charger, so if power goes out, no big deal, it'll run off the battery, and then I can shut my oil burner down with the time that I have left in that battery, which I could probably run that thing all day on the battery, honestly. Anyway, so the two air supplies, they wire together into one, and then they come up this pipe here, and then they go into this heat exchanger. But what you'll also notice here is I've got another pipe here, and this is a waste air system, so this helps me control my flame front even better, and it goes through this way and then into the exhaust. And then how that works is I've got a pipe that goes into the exhaust this way and then that way, and it's the same size as this pipe here, which is about 1 inch. And how that works is it just wastes some of the air so that I have better flame control. So I turn this valve off, which shuts off the waste air, and all of the air goes into the burn chamber. But I do that when it's really cold in here. But when it's hot, I leave it like that. Also, when I'm starting it, I leave it open too, because what happens is that air goes into that 4-inch pipe there, coming out that 1-inch pipe, and behind it, because it's wasting air and pushing it that way, it creates a vacuum in the 4-inch pipe, which creates a vacuum in there, and then it prevents any kind of smoking or anything that wants to try to happen out of the seams of this thing or out the lid or whatever, and it keeps it all going the right direction. So I usually have that open when I'm starting it, and then as I get heat into the chimney system, which I now have a proper chimney, the chimney actually creates its own vacuum. So anyway, that's the waste air side. So carrying on here, my charge air goes up through here, loops back around, it comes back down here, and then it goes into my burn chamber. And that's just preheating the air, and I had to do that because preheating the air helps the oil self-ignite. And the hotter I had that flame, or the hotter I had the air, the easier it was for it to light, especially when I want to run it down to a really low air setting to control that heat in the barrels, so that I have some heat control, or really good heat control actually. And when I have the fan on the lowest setting, which it is now, this barrel won't even glow. It'll just be radiating a nice heat, and it'll be a blue flame in there. And I'll just pull the lid off. It might not be blue now because I just turned it down. Oh, it is blue. It's mostly blue in there. So the flame's turned right down now, and that's a stoichiometric burn. So it goes in like that, and then it goes into across the air, and then I have air vents on either side of the cross, and that makes my air swirl in the barrel like this, and then I get a really good burn that way. So then after it's done burning, it comes out the exhaust pipe, goes straight into this heat exchanger here, which I have a bunch of pipes going through it to try and scavenge more air, and then heat rises, and it, you know, goes through the heat exchanger, and then it comes out the exhaust and out that way. And this thing you see here is just remnants of how it used to be when I had it over by the window, and I was using fresh air to come in this way to go past the exhaust to keep the heat off my plywood. But now I have a proper chimney, and then the chimney goes this way, and I decided to do a long run like this to try and radiate heat off of the chimney, and then up and out. So over by the chimney here, I have another pipe. This is a 3-inch pipe that goes inside of the 6-inch pipe, and it goes into just past the T, just past that T there, and it does the same thing. And actually, when the chimney's going, you can actually feel a little vacuum there, and I could demonstrate that with some smoke. But my plan for that was I'm going to move my welding bench over here and stick my range hood over it, so when I'm welding, my smoke gets sucked up into there. And I've got a fan I can turn on that and help it go into the chimney system as well. But for the time being, I just keep it plugged off. So that's my oil burner. I'll show you how it looks when I take it apart for cleaning. So the next video I do will be about cleaning the oil burner, and you'll see how it works when I take it apart. If you like this video content, please hit like and subscribe. Thank you for watching.